What's up, guys? KAMIKAZE-FOX coming to you from SRL F1 2019 on the PS4 platform. This is round 19, the Singapore Sling Grand Prix. Here in the infamous and treacherous Singapore track, I've got Erik Penninton with me as always. Erik, looking forward to today's race. Singapore, horrible track in my opinion. Really tough for the drivers, really tough on the cars, really tough as far as strategy goes.
The most demanding track in Formula 1 calendar, in real life and in league racing. Jesus Christ, it's like the hardest track you can ever imagine. Like, what's even worse, that if it's heavy rain, then it's like ×2, like worst track in the whole game. Like, very demanding. 23 corners, and may God be on their side. Really, I'm just saying, may God bless them all. These innocent sheep are getting to slaughter.
Well, let's run down the driver lineup. Looks like we've got 16 drivers for today's race. We're going to do an 18-minute short qualifying session, followed by a 50% race, and we have things starting off with Sam Brandt and Reese March, both in the Haas machines. Sandro Dulius rocking the Ferrari. Cameron Weston-Edwards coming back for a race today in the McLaren. Slow 678 Saturn is Dennis. I believe his last name is Carenchis. I haven't seen him since Australia. He is a reserve driver. We got Jan Holm in the Toro Rosso, Yannick Verstappen in the Alfa Romeo, Brian Power in the Racing Point, Dion Stahl is going to be rocking the other Ferrari, Colin Higgins in the Renault, Robin Herterstegen is in the Racing Point, Jensen Randall rocking the Mercedes, Andrea Alatrella is rocking the Toro Rosso, Jo Marusic is in the Red Bull with his teammate Nick Van Gelder. Ivan Brito from PTRL is in the other Alfa Romeo. And then, of course, Erik and myself spectating today's race. And coming over from the last round we had was round 18 a couple weeks ago in Canada. A couple of the big hitters are not here today. Luke Mathiasen and Tim Ventic, two of the big swingers in the league, out of the not going to make the race today. So it kind of leaves the podium positions wide open. And honestly, Sandro Dulius won this race last season, and it was a masterclass of a race. He perfectly executed his race strategy, kept control of the tire temperature the whole race, and walked away with a huge win. So looking forward to see kind of that the podium is all wide open after round 18 in Canada. So looking forward to today's race. Strategy-wise, what is optimum strategy minus the rain that could be a factor in today's race?
Hard as set today. Definitely don't even use the soft tires, just mediums and hards. The softs are gonna last only 2 to 3 laps, so yeah, hard as set.
Wow. That's not too many tracks on the calendar where you have said to use harder tires over the softs. Now, I mean, that being said, I mean, do you take a gamble maybe and try softs, hoping that there's going to be a safety car in the first couple laps, as we've seen the last few weeks?
I mean, I would recommend that midfielders, those drivers who usually not fighting for the wins or podiums, should try them. Strategy, qualifying with a softest tire, because the safety car can of course come, and Singapore it's very likely it will come in the first 5-6 laps. So for the top drivers I suggest stick to mediums and hards. For the slower drivers, no offense, you have to basically take the risk and go for the softs, because if you can't fight for the win, why you here then? So yeah.
Got a couple of guys on the live chat. Nick Van Gelder, who's obviously in the race. He's excited for today's race. Ivan Brito, who's racing as well. Plus, it looks like Ivan's got a fan in the stand right now cheering him on. So, recapping round 18 in Canada, Luke Mathiasen had his 7th pole position, and that is actually a league-leading 7th pole position of the season. And he was able to walk away with the win. It was his 4th win. Andrea Elatrella, the Italian, who's only been with us for a couple of races, shown some speed, walked away with his first podium of the season. And Tim Ventic came home 3rd. Now, he locked up the championship a couple of rounds ago and has a league-leading 12th podium of the season. The best of the rest was Nick Van Gelder, who came home 4th. Sandro Dulius was 5th. Sam Brandt was 6th. Spoons Van Houten was 7th. Ivan Brito 8th. Jo Marusic 9th. Colin Higgins 10th. That was your top 10 points paying positions. Dion Stahl managed to muster out an 11th place finish, and he was the last of the finishers. And 12th through 15th was all DNFs. That was Robin Herterstegen, Jensen Randall, surprisingly, Jan Holm, and Reese March. And unfortunately for Jan Holm, that was a league-leading 12th DNF of the season. and he is in the race today in the Toro Rosso, so hopefully he'll be looking forward to, I'm sure, finishing a race in regards to things. But season winding down, championship locked up, but a lot of guys racing for pride, and Singapore, I mean, how big of a win is that for drivers? I mean, obviously Monaco is like the biggest race to win on the calendar. Singapore, close second?
In real life, yes, but I think many drivers who are driving with wheel don't really appreciate this track because, unlike the track's nature, actually controller is better for this track. So I believe this is one of those tracks what most of the people hate, and it's not like you get so much credit in this game if you're able to win Singapore Grand Prix, because in wheel it's just awful to drive. It's a bad track, which is very, very concerning. So in this game, yeah, nobody appreciates wheel if you win Singapore. Especially those, if you ask drivers like Blizzard and those like time trial drivers, because they know you can win the race with controller. So, and the controller has the advantage because the rear tires don't overheat so quickly with pad, which is ridiculous.
Now, speaking of which, we do have obviously a good mixture of pad drivers, and oh, look, and we've got rain for qualifying. That's definitely going to shake things up.
Yeah, this is pad driver is going to win this race, definitely. Pad driver is going to win this race here today. No chance Wheel can do Singapore with heavy rain. There's no chance in hell. Well, actually, yeah.
Well, this is certainly going to be an interesting qualifying session. And, I mean, obviously, with Luke Mathiasen and Tim Ventic not being in the race, I mean, those two, not only do they have the most wins and the most podiums throughout the course of the year, but they also have the most pole positions. So this could really open it up for anybody. Guys I would probably keep an eye on would be Jensen Randall and Andrea Elatrella. Both of them have proven to have a lot of speed. Now, Jensen had a very rare DNF. It was the second DNF of the season last time out, but he's got 3 podiums to his credit this year. And Elatrell has only been in 2 races for SRL, but he's come home 4th and 2nd in those races. So both of those guys, I think, are going to be key drivers to watch. And obviously, Sandro Dulius having that great race here last season, I think he'll be one to watch as well.
Yeah. We don't know what's the race going to be, but in rain, I don't know, anybody can actually take pole position in rain in Singapore, well, with pad drivers, so I don't know if the track gonna improve or not, but if it stays like this, I think lap time of pole position is gonna be around 156 or 157.
And it looks like everybody's on full wet, so the rain coming down pretty heavy right now, so may not be much of a chance of maybe a switchover. 18-minute short qualifying session. It's hard to say because the weather in Singapore, I mean, it's obviously, it rains a lot, but it's so hot that the track can dry out relatively quickly. So could be a chance of a crossover to at least intermediates. Do you think maybe we'll see maybe dry tires towards the end of this session?
Well, it's if it's hard to say actually. I'd say intermediates. I don't think that it's going to be ready enough for slicks. I know what you're saying, that it's a hot track and everything, but we would have to have over 40 minutes of qualifying if we want to see a dry track. So intermediates in the end, possible.
Now we're watching Brian Power right now on his outlap. I believe he's the first driver on an outlap. Yeah, he's the first driver that went out on an outlap, so he should be the first one to set a time as he crosses under the bridge. And really demanding track. It's hard to say. Like, I don't usually race, but I mean, I can just tell that there's not a lot of time to breathe around here.
Nah, you have to focus all the time. You have to, like, the focus has to be in this track, like pedal to the metal. You have to be consistent. You have to focus. You can't slip your mind at any second. There's just 23 corners of pain and sweat and tears. So I feel bad for them, like I said.
And interestingly enough, we've gotten a heads up from the league administrators that the dry race is expected. So shouldn't be wet during the race, which really kind of throws a crapshoot into qualifying, because I imagine Singapore's a lot like Monaco. Front row starts are just about everything. I mean, there's not a lot of opportunity to pass around here, is there?
No, it's not. Only the straight line where the hash drivers now. This is the only place we can basically overtake in the whole track. So I believe everybody's gonna want very high wings. They're gonna want high rear wing. So I believe we're gonna have a lot of drivers with wet setups. Like you said, it's hard to overtake. Only one corner where you can overtake, and that's also a big risk.
And Brian Power has lost control and gone around. Oh, and so is one of the Alfa Romeos. That could be Ivan Brito. Yes, it is, unfortunately. Oh, no, and Brian Power almost takes one of the McLarens with him. And here comes the other one going by. So we're going to ourselves a little bit of a traffic jam here. Brian Power doing unfortunately, Brian Power doing the Austin Powers, trying to get his car turned around.
Yeah, that legendary scene from Austin Powers movie where he tried for 2 minutes to get his car around. He's still doing it, but...
It looks like Ivan Brito's doing the same. Going to do the old 4-point turn. There we go.
Maybe
luckily, neither one of them seemed to hit the wall, so...
Yeah.
And Jan Holm picks up a 3-second time penalty for ignoring a yellow flag. I find that hard to believe, but...
I mean, we're in qualifying. It's kind of weird that 3 seconds. Huh.
So we got yellow flags flying in sectors 2 and 3 again. Looks like that.
Yeah, this only sums up the track. This only sums up the difficulty, the track in wet.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, we are now 5 minutes into qualifying, and nobody has set a lap time yet. The clock is ticking away. Reese March sets the first time, 2:03.324. And as slow as that time might be, it doesn't matter because he's the only one to set one so far.
Yeah.
There we go. Now the times are coming in. Dennis comes across 1:59. The McLaren's going to the top of the charts. Cameron Weston Edwards with a 1:58.579. His backup teammate. And now Colin Higgins 1:59 flat. So times are starting to come in finally with just a little over 12 minutes left in the session. So
yeah, it's very difficult to get a lap. You don't have any traction, and in rain when there's no traction, it's just impossible to drive. So we might see a lot of DNFs in qualifying.
And obviously, I mean, there's not a lot of time in the qualifying. Wow, look at Andrea, 1:55.556. That is 3 seconds quicker than Cameron Weston Edwards. That might be the time to beat for today's qualifying.
I mean, it's only 3 seconds. So it's good time actually. I've never actually raced in heavy rain in Singapore, even though I've been 4 years of league racing. I've never had a race or qualifying where I had heavy rain in Singapore. So it's really difficult to judge what are the perfect lap times around here in rain.
So we're watching Cameron Weston Edwards right now, currently second quickest, but he's 1.2 seconds up on his previous time, so he's putting in another flyer.
Yeah.
And Edwards is he's a really aggressive driver. He's a very dangerous driver. He's hard to get around. He's very good at defending his position. Dangerous in a good way, not dangerous in a malice way. So he's very quick. He's very decisive. He's been great at starts this season. Oh, and he loses the back end. Big drift. Does he stay on the throttle?
I think he lost all of his time. He might improve actually, but yeah, I don't think.
So he does improve his time by half a second, so he lost a lot of time because of that slide, but doesn't improve his position, and he's going to need, obviously, to find a lot more time than 1.2 seconds in order to catch up to Andrea. Jensen Randall came across, 1:58.072 to take third. Colin Higgins with a 1:59.0. Dennis, 1:59.250. Robin Herterstagen just came across with a 1:59.370. Nick Van Gelder, who was looking forward to this race, 1:59.583, all the way down in 7th spot so far. And we are going to pick up last year's winner, Sandro Dulius. See what kind of time he can put in. Going to ride along with him and see what it's like to try and drive around here in these very tumultuous conditions. And yeah, a little bit of a snap oversteer there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's like I said, he doesn't have any traction. And I can see from driving style he's driving with wheel, and it's the worst kind of. In rain, the wheel is very awful, and to add to the Singapore wheel and rain, it's not going to be easy weekend for him.
Ooh, very twitchy. Catches the car.
It's so unbalanced. Driving is very unbalanced at the moment.
Oh, it looks like he might have clipped that inside wall, cutting that corner a little too tight. And now it washes out towards the outside. And just, it's almost impossible to just get on the throttle. Everything's so touch and go.
Yeah,
last quarter, going to come across the line, see what he can set. That's a 158.938, good enough for 6th quickest. I'm sure he'll be looking to try and improve that for sure. So we've got 3 drivers who have yet to set a time. We've got Sam Brandt, who's on an outlap in the Haas. Jan Holmes on another outlap in his Toro Rosso. And Yannick Verpeyten's in the Alfa Romeo. He is still sitting inside the pits right now. So we'll pick up Sam Brandt. Currently on his outlap. It's amazing to me how difficult this track is. I mean, it's a street circuit. You don't see a lot of street circuits, obviously, and it looks like Sam Brandt has blown the braking point for that corner. But, I mean, you don't see a lot of street circuits in Formula One anymore. I mean, with the exception of Monaco, Baku, and Singapore, that's about it. All 3 of them very different from one another. I mean, is there anything you can carry over from, like, Monaco to Singapore as far as a setup? Or those would probably be the 2 closest. Obviously, Baku is going to be a very low-drag setup. But is there anything you can carry over from Monaco to Singapore for a setup?
The high wings. That's basically it. Like 6, 11, 7. Maybe Singapore has lower wings than Monaco, so but yeah, I'd say a similar type of front wing and rear wing than in Monaco. Basically nothing else.
And Andrea Elatrella just came across to improve his time to a 154.555. Now, Dion Stahl, we haven't really talked a whole lot about. He came across with a 157.870, good enough for 2nd spot. That's a great qualifying effort by Dion Stahl. He's usually mid-pack driver. He's obviously the B driver for the Ferrari team, but great qualifying effort on his part. And Ivan Brito, 5th quickest so far, 158.324, so he improved his time a little bit. So good on him for that.
Very good. And it doesn't really seem like the track is drying, even though Singapore usually it's 30 track temperature is 90 Celsius or 95 Celsius, but it doesn't look like it's going to be ready for Inner, so I think it's going to be wet till the end. So the track is going to only improve by around 3 to 4 tenths in the end.
And we're riding along with Sam Brandt once again, still waiting to see what kind of time he can set. So only 2 drivers now have yet to set a time. Jan Holm finally sets a time at a 2:06.837, so he's obviously struggling in the wet.
And there's Red Bull spinning. Doing the donuts for the viewers.
It'll probably be Nick Van Gelder, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and around goes a Haas. Is that Reese March? Yes, it is. Reese March spinning it back around, getting it underway. We'll pick up Sam Brandt once again as he gets ready. Oh, and he's invalidated his time, so Sam Brandt has still yet to cash in on a timed lap, and 5 minutes left to play in the session. So, time running out for Sam to set a time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're going to pick up... Looks like a lot of the guys are heading into the pits. We'll pick up Colin Higgins. He's currently on an outlap. 8th quickest so far.
Yeah.
So and now 5 minutes left to play in the session. Looks like we've got some guys switching over to intermediates now, so...
Huh. I would still wait till the last minutes or last seconds because the track is going to improve minute by minute, second by second, so I would wait to go to the track when it's around 3 minutes left in the session or 3:20. Now, this is way too early to go to the track.
And that would give you enough time to do an out lap and a timed lap.
3:20, yeah, 3:20 would give you a good amount of time. You would have around 30 seconds left in the end or 20 seconds, so But in these conditions, you really have to time it. You have to really time, like, when you cross the finish line, the time is going to end, and you're going to start your lap. You want to be in that position that you're going to be at as late as possible to make your final attempt in rainy conditions, because the track can improve after 0 seconds so much that you need to kind of take the risk, and take the risk that you might actually not be able to set a lap, but you have to go as late as possible.
Well, I think it's about to be very busy because we're seeing Dion Stahl, Colin Higgins, and Nick Van Gelder all dive into the pits. So it looks like they're going to follow suit and probably switch over to some intermediates. We've already got a lot of drivers on an outlap. Andrea Elatrell is the one to watch, I think, right now on the intermediates. He's already gone 154 to the top of the charts on the full wets. So he should be able to improve his time. And, I mean, he's 3 seconds over Dion Stahl. Unbelievable qualifying effort by Andrea.
He's showing his rain master in Singapore, apparently, that he knows how to drive in rain. He enjoys Singapore. He's found the limits of the track. He's in his comfort zone, if you must say. And yeah, it reminds me of a lot of Ayrton Senna's driving in rain. And he also took 3-second time pole position, so very good at the moment from Andrea.
And we've got Cameron Weston Edwards, who's letting Andrea go by. Edwards, one to watch as well, 158.039, good enough for third quickest so far, but 3 seconds off. I don't know that he's going to be able to find that kind of time. I mean, that's just an unbelievable time from Andrea. I mean, I can't get over the time difference. It's just, it's amazing to me.
Yeah, but to add, only way he can improve or find the 3 seconds is if Andrea messes up his lap, and the track is going to improve that much that, you know, it's 4 seconds quicker than wets, then he might be able to take pole position. But other than that, I don't believe he can find 3 seconds.
So we've got somebody on the live chat saying he's new to the league and wants to know who the championship leader is. The championship leader is actually Tim Bentic. He's not racing today, and he actually locked up the championship a couple of races ago. He's been so dominant this year. And just a recap on that, Bentic has 6 wins to his credit this year, 12 podiums, and pretty much walked away with the championship as Luke Mathiasen was the second closest one in the points. But Luke Mathiasen missed a lot of the racing in the first half of the season. So even though Luke Mathiasen's second in points, he's only got 6 podiums to his credit and 4 wins. So Tim Bentic, your championship winner this year. I hope that answers your question, your BBTTJ Bulwark. And we're currently watching newcomer to the league, Andrea Elatrella. This is his 3rd race in SRL. He's already got a 4th place finish and a podium to his credit as he finished 2nd last time out of Canada. He's currently sitting on pole with a 154.555. That was set on full wets. We're going to see what he can set on the intermediates as we ride along with him. Coming through Sector 2, getting ready to head into Sector 3. Going by Reese Marsh. Reese Marsh, unfortunately, all the way down, classified 14th with a 2:03.324.
Yeah, Andrea is improving by so much. We might see a 1 second improvement, a 1.5 second improvement from the Toronto driver at the moment. The driving, I've been following his lap, it's just beautiful to see, like magic.
The yellow flag in Sector 2, that was a quick on-off. Looks like that might have been one of the Ferraris. Ride along here, you can hear just how easy he's being on the throttle and just getting it going. He's an extra gear up, it seems like, in the corners to keep those RPMs down from keeping the tires from spinning. So he's getting ready to come across the line at a 151.707. I think that's going to be the nail in the coffin. We're going to pick up Cameron Weston Edwards. He was 3rd quickest, and he's 1.7 up on his previous time. And Edwards is only able to go 154.114.
I mean,
we'll pick up Dion Stahl. He's just starting his... and Brian Power with a great qualifying effort. He just came across the line, 154.517. That puts him 3rd quickest. Sandro Dulius comes across the line to go 4th quickest. And look at Ivan Brito. He's now jumped to 2nd in the charts with a 153.942. Qualifying is up. Sam Brandt was not able to set a time. Yannick Verpaeten, I think, might have had a qualifying ban from a previous incident, so he did not set a time. Robin Herderstegen's locked in. Jurgen Marusic has just retired from the session. He's 12th quickest so far. So good for Ivan Brito. Jensen Randall goes 2nd quickest now. 153.719. That drops Ivan Brito to third quickest. We've still got a lot of guys on timed laps. We've got Cameron Edwards is still on a timed lap. He's a couple hundredths up on his previous time. That's not going to be enough. Looks like Sandra's still on a time lap.
2 seconds between P1 and P2. 2 bloody seconds.
And Brian Powers retired from the session, so his time is locked in at the 154.517. We're watching Sandro Dulius to see if he's got anything left in the tank to try and snatch pole position or improve his time. He's now dropped to 8th quickest. Colin Higgins has gone 4th quickest. Great qualifying effort by Colin. And I'm seeing a lot of guys running towards the front that I don't usually see there. Ivan Brito, Colin Higgins, Brian Power. All these guys putting in. And Andrea goes 150.993 just to put a knuckle in the back of everybody on the grid. Looking absolutely untouchable.
Oh, like in Lethal Weapon 2, he has diplomatic immunity.
And Sandro Dulius coming through the last set of corners here.
Oh, my
the car
God.
wiggling coming out of there. He's going to head through the last corner, slides it out just a little bit. Oh, and he loses the back end, trying to keep the power down, comes across the line. 3rd quickest for Sandro Dulius. Great qualifying effort. Behind him, Cameron Edwards goes 2nd quickest, 153.235. And look at this, Dennis Karenchis, I believe is how you say his last name, is gone 3rd quickest in the McLaren. So McLaren, they looked really strong at the beginning of the year, and they're looking really strong here in today's race. And unbelievable. So Andrea Elatrella, the Italian, with his first pole position in SRL, followed by Cameron Edwards, Dennis Carenci, Sandro Dulius, Nick Van Gelder, Jensen Randall, Ivan Brito, Colin Higgins, Brian Power, Robin Herterstagen, Dion Stahl, who was 2nd early on in the session, falls all the way to 11th. Jo Marusic is 12th. Jan Holm is 13th, Reese March is 14th, and Sam Brandt did not set a time, and Yannick Verpayten had a qualifying ban from the previous race. So that rounds out 16 drivers for today's race. What a time, what a qualifying effort by Andrea. That is unbelievable.
I mean, you said it, it's unbelievable. 2.3 seconds, I don't think I've seen in a very long time that gap between P1 and P2 is 2.3 seconds. I really hope that he's not that fast in a dry, or then, well, we might have a very boring race ahead of us.
Well, it might be a boring race for the battle for the lead, but as we've seen, the battles throughout the course of the positions has been pretty epic the last few rounds. But it looks like, what is it? The SRL administrators told us earlier that it was going to be expected to be a full dry race, so no rain in the forecast for the actual race itself. So just because he had a good wet weather setup, he may not have. I mean, is there a chance he didn't set up the car for dry? I mean, Andrea could be at a disadvantage.
I mean, set up or no setup, I can't see 2.3 seconds coming from a setup. I think that he's still 1 second quicker than everybody else in the race. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're 2.3 seconds quicker, it doesn't matter if it's rain or dry. Like, you're still going to be over at least 1 second quicker than everybody else. It doesn't matter what the setup is. So everybody else's chances, they have to jump Andrea from the start. If they can't jump Andrea from the start, or Andrea doesn't make mistakes, then it will be very hard to challenge him for the win. I'm just saying.
And speaking good from the start, running down the lineup again for the formation lap, Andrea with his first pole position of the year. But speaking of good starters, Cameron Edwards, in the races that he's participated in this year, has been blistering quick on the opening stint of the race. He's been great at getting the car going off the line. So we look forward to him seeing if maybe he can snatch that top spot away from Andrea. And his teammate behind him, part-timer Dennis Carenci, starting in 3rd. Sandro Dulius, last year's winner here, starting on the hard tires. He could be a force to be reckoned with. Nick Van Gelder is always a joy to watch. He'll be able to put in some good laps, I'm sure. Jensen Randall coming off of a DNF last time out, so he'll be looking to finish the race today, put some points on the board. Ivan Brito's got some fans in the stand, as always, from PTRL, the Portuguese Racing League. He's starting in the 7th spot. Colin Higgins behind him. Colin Higgins has been a very consistent driver so far this year. Not a lot of DNFs. Usually puts points on the board, but it's usually towards the back part of the standings. Brian Power has got a lot of DNFs to his credit this year, unfortunately. He'll be looking to finish a race. He's got 8 DNFs to his credit. A finish would be great. Points would be even better. Robin Herterstagen is going to be behind him. And then Dion Stahl, who was second early on in qualifying, dropped all the way to 11th. When it was all said and done, he's got his work cut out for him. Jure Marusic retired early on in the session, so he'll be starting in 12th. And Jan Holm leads the league in DNFs with 12, unfortunately. 12 out of 18 races. Again, another driver looking to just finish a race. That would be a bonus. Points would be epic. And Reese March had a horrible qualifying session. He was actually the slowest driver of the ones that set a time, starting all the way at 14th. And his teammate Sam Brandt did not set a time, couldn't get a timed lap in after invalidating so many of them. And Yannick Verpayten, who is always entertaining to watch and listen to in a party, he'll be starting in the 16th spot. So 16 drivers for today's race. 31 laps here at the toughest track on the circuit. We wait for the 5 red lights. And the lights are out. Time to run what you brung their way in a puff of smoke. And it looks like Edwards may have gotten a fairly good start. And he's going to be able to leapfrog Andrea heading into turn 1. And Edwards is taking the lead immediately as they head to turn 1. And that is the medium tires. And Andrea coming back now down the back straightaway. And those two have already started to gap the teammate of Edwards. Dennis Carenchi's in the McLaren. They've already started to gap them. And look at this, all over the gearboxes, Andrea, as they head down the straightaway. And Andrea's looking to make a move to the inside. No, he tucks back in line.
This is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see McLaren jump Andrea in the start, because now we have a great fight for the win. We needed this. We really needed this for the race.
Got some shuffling going on in the back. Looks like Brian Powers getting around Colin Higgins for the 8th spot. Jensen Randall in 4th, 5th. Looks like everybody's still in their positions that they started in, with the exception of the top 2. And these guys are already starting to gap the 3rd place car to almost a second.
Yeah.
And an unbelievable start by Cameron Nelson Edwards. We talked about it in the formation lap, how good he's been on the opening stints, and he's showing it again. But Andrea is not letting him pull away.
Yeah, Andrea's pressurizing him so much now that he's trying to make Coldstone make some kind of mistake that he will be able to overtake him. But this is a cat and mouse game now. No places to overtake. He has that one chance, but I think it's going to be a battle of the pit crews. Who's going to jump in front?
And for anybody that follows SRL on a regular basis, Cameron Weston Edwards is known for being very, very, very difficult to get around. He is very aggressive when it comes to defending his position. And he is not going to make it easy for Andrea Elatrella. We see Dennis Carenchi tries to snake down the front straightaway and break up that slipstream, as Jensen Randall is all over the back of him for the 3rd spot. So Jensen Randall is all over the gearbox, the McLaren. Sandro Dulius is trying to hold off Nick Van Gelder. So a bunch of 2-car battles as we run down the running order. And Ivan Brito trying to hold off Brian Power. But right now we're watching Jensen Randall in the 4th spot, and he's got a good run. Trying to make a move on Carenchi's as he head down in the next corner, but Carenchi's going to take the inside line, make the defensive move, and hold off Jensen Randall. Randall back to the inside on the next corner. Looks like he might get him.
Yeah, better line. There we go. That's the difference between mediums and hards. He got the maneuver done, and now he has to get to the battle with Andrea and Coldstone.
And next on the hit list, and we got Sandro Dulius and Nick Van Gelder battling for the 5th spot. And that's a 3-car battle now, because Ivan Brito's become a part of it, and Sandro trying to hold off Nick Van Gelder. And Sandro looks like he might be struggling just a little bit. They made a little bit of contact a couple of laps ago, but he's got the hard tires. Van Gelder on the mediums. It's a little bit of alternate strategy there. Van Gelder's got a good run heading into this corner. Not close enough to make a move, though.
Yeah, and we might actually see very early times, very early pit stops in a race here today, because with an undercut you can gain around 2 seconds in this track. So we might see the first pit stops already in lap 9 up to lap 11.
And still a half-second gap between Andrea Elatrella and Cameron Weston Edwards. But lap 3 coming up, so the DRS will be enabled. And Sandro Dulius runs very wide coming out of that last corner. And Andrea just ran the fastest lap of this race. He's closed down on Edwards now, cut off 2/10 in that last sector. So back to the battle for the lead now. Edwards runs a little wide coming out of turn 3, I guess?
Yeah, turn 3. Now he has DRS open. I would say that he will try the maneuver, but I don't know if he's going to be making it, but he is a lot faster than the McLaren ahead.
And Edwards swings to the inside, takes that defensive position, going to try and outbreak him. He's not going to be able to pull it off. Now, Andrea ran a little wide coming out of there. Edwards is not completely out of this fight, but Andrea proving he's got a lot of speed in that Toro Rosso.
I mean, he was able to set a fastest lap behind the McLaren driver, so that means Andrea has at least 8 or 9 tenths more pace than the McLaren driver, so I think Andrea will pull away right now.
Edwards still trying to stick with him. He's within half a second, and he's obviously going to have the DRS advantage. And now, while these two have been battling it out, Jenson Randall's actually closed in on this battle. Jenson Randall's only 1.5 seconds back from this, so this could be a 3-car battle starting to materialize. But Edwards losing a little bit of ground to Andrea and the Toro Rosso.
Yeah, Andrea has very good pace. The driving level looks a little bit different, but the McLaren has to hope he's less than 1 second in the finish line. If it goes over 1 second, then Andrea's going to pull away for the rest of the race. So it has to be less than 1 second when they go to the finish line. He has to get that DRS. He has to be in that DRS train.
And it's going to be very close. And Andrea runs another fastest lap. And look at that, just outside the DRS range, 1.1 seconds. And Jenson Randall just creeped into the DRS range on Cameron Weston Edwards. So Edwards is in danger of possibly losing that second spot. Meanwhile, Nick Van Gelder and Sandro Dulias. Van Gelder finally got around him for the 5th spot. It looks like we've got Brian Power has headed into the pits early on. Might have some wing damage here on the racing point. Oh, he looks like he lost his whole front wing, actually, so they're going to switch that out. So he's had an incident for sure. And Van Gelder is actually closing in on Dennis Coninches for the 4th spot. Van Gelder showing some speed in that Red Bull tonight.
Yeah, and we have to remember, yeah, he's in hard tires. The McLaren driver is in hard, so it's going to be the first 10 laps slower than the medium runners, but in lap 14 he's going to be faster than them.
So Van Gelder has now caught Dennis Coninches for the 4th spot. Jenson Randall's closing in on Cameron Weston Edwards. So the McLarens are both in danger of losing another spot. They started 2nd and 3rd, I believe.
Yeah. But when the P4 driver changes to mediums, he's going to be very fast. When he takes those mediums, somebody else has hards. It's going to be the other way around. He's going to have light car. He's going to be 1 second quicker than everybody else. And yeah.
So surprisingly, some good racing here in the opening 4 laps of this race, and not Singapore not known for a lot of side-by-side racing, obviously. It's a very tight course, very demanding course. But a lot of good passing going on, and no incidents, I'm surprised, in the first couple of laps. I would have thought that there would have been more crashes, but goes to show the professionalism of SRL. A lot of these drivers able to make these passes on this narrow course. Oh, and Jan Holm is retired from the session.
Commentator's curse.
Commentator's curse, and Jan Holm out of this race, and it's a virtual safety car, and unfortunately for Jan Holm, I got a lot of respect for the guy, but that is his 13th DNF of the season.
Well,
Jan Holm, though, I will say this, he's pretty well respected within the league. He's a gentleman driver. He's the oldest driver in the league. He's actually an older gentleman in his 50s. Oh, no, and under the safety car, Nick Van Gelder has gone into the wall. Oh, my goodness, and now he's got to do the Austin Powers that he had to do in qualifying to turn the car around. And a costly mistake from Van Gelder under the virtual safety car, and now he's got wing damage. Unbelievable.
Well, that's his afternoon over. He's going to have to change that front wing, and he has to go for the hards a little bit early on.
Now, early on, I mean, it's 5 laps into this race. Can those hards go all the way to lap 31?
Yeah.
Oh, and he just rear-ended Colin Higgins. He's had more incident. Van Gelder, what are you doing, my friend?
Well, domino effect, maybe. When one thing starts to go wrong, it multiplies by 10. So hopefully he'll pit now, take the hards, drive to the end.
And we are back to green flag racing, and that is too bad for Nick Van Gelder. So he had a really good run going. He was coming up on Dennis Coninches for that 4th position, and that's a shame. And so his race is falling apart. Jan Holm out of the race, unfortunately. So we get a little bit of a reset on the running order. It looks like Robin Hertestegen, well, he's going to take over the 9th spot as Van Gelder dives into the pits, I'm sure. Yeah, Van Gelder into the pits. Brian Power picks up a 3-second time penalty. And look at this. Jensen Randall all over the back of Cameron Weston Edwards, making a move going down the straightaway. And Cameron Weston Edwards is going to lose out the 2nd spot to Jensen Randall.
He didn't fight that too hard. He realizes his teammate is over 5 seconds behind him. He can now get some clean air, drive in P3, save the tire, save the OS. So that was a very smart that he didn't battle the Mercedes too hard. He will have clean track ahead of him when Mercedes pulls away.
So now we'll get to see the pace difference between Jensen Randall and Andrea Elatrella. And right now it's 2.8 second gap. Jensen Randall has to make up to try and get to that top spot. And oh no, and Sandro Julius picks up a 5-second time penalty for exceeding the track limits. And what is going on with Sandro? It looks like he may have had an on-off incident. He lost the position to his teammate Dion Stahl, and Ivan Brito has now worked his way up into the 4th spot.
And
Ivan Brito into the wall. Dion Stahl's going to take the inside line, and Stahl almost blows the breaking point for the corner. He manages to make it. And Ivan Brito, does he have any wing damage yet? Looks like he's lost the end plate on the right front.
Yeah, right front, he has to... I don't think it's that serious. He can still cope with it. He can drive this first stint, and then he can fit for a new one. Oh, he's fitting right now. Alright.
So Dion Stahl takes over the 5th spot. Good on him. And meanwhile, as we talked earlier about Jensen Randall seeing if he could close that gap to Andrea Elatrella, Andrea has gone fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap, and is now a 3.2 second gap from Andrea back to Jensen Randall. Cameron Weston Edwards still trying to stay within that DRS range. He's 0.8 of a second behind, but don't think he's going to be able to hang tough with him for very long.
Yeah, I mean, the only way somebody can stop Andrea is if safety car comes or he makes a big mistake. But yeah, anything can still happen in Singapore. It only takes one mistake, and everything can change. So Andrea's win is not, well, it's not certain at the moment. Anything can still happen.
And just on a quick side note, we talked about Nick Van Gelder. He came in and pitted and went back out on medium tires, so he is going to be doing another stop, I'm sure, because he's not going to be able to take those mediums all the way to the end.
Nah, he'll probably take another set of mediums, or then he's going to draw, 2 medium stints. Definitely not. There's no way you can do one stop with the mediums. No. If it fit in this stage, no.
So we've got Sam Brandt. Looks like Sam Brandt's going around his teammate Reese March. Reese March letting him by. And that's the one thing I can say about these two Haas drivers. These guys have worked really well the past couple of seasons as teammates. Reese March recognizing that in this particular race and situation, he's the slower of the two cars, so he lets Sam go by. And Sandro Julius picks up another 3-second time penalty to add insult to injury. He's currently running in 6th. And it's interestingly enough that you see the cars are pretty well spread out at this point, but time penalties can be a huge factor towards the end of this race.
Exactly, and I've always seen a league race in Singapore where safety car comes also in the end. So if you have like 9 or 12 seconds worth of penalties, the first 8 positions even might not be certain. So I think the first 3 positions are not clear yet. So penalties, I think everybody's gonna take penalties here today. It's so strict.
And Nick Van Gelder just ran the fastest lap of the race, but he's currently running in the 13th position. So looks like everybody's spread out a little bit. Run down the running order with you. Andrea Elatrella, who started on pole, was taken over by Cameron Weston Edwards going into the first corner, and Andrea was able to take that back a couple of laps later and has been out in front ever since. Jensen Randall is up to second, 3.3 seconds behind Andrea in the second spot. Cameron Weston Edwards started second, leapfrogged Andrea early on, but has fallen back to third. His teammate Dennis Karenchis is in fourth. Dion Stahl running in the 5th spot. He's got his teammate behind him, Sandro Dulius, and Dulius we know already has 8 seconds worth of time penalties for exceeding track limits, so his race is not going the way that he wanted it to, I'm sure. Colin Higgins up to 7th. He's had a pretty quiet race so far. Robin Herterstegen quietly running in the 8th spot. We just saw Sam Brandt.
Mercedes has spun in P2. Mercedes has spun it.
Oh no, and Jensen Randall goes around on the front stretch, and he's going to lose a number of positions trying to get around. He's in the racing line, and Dion Stahl has to go around him. Here comes Sandro Dulius. Sandro going to try and get around him. Just gets to him as they head into the front corner. An unbelievable and rare mistake from Jensen Randall. And now Ivan Brito's got a 3-second time penalty. So an unbelievable turn of events, and Cameron Weston Edwards finds himself running in the 2nd spot again. So just as I was trying to run down the race recap and running order, it quickly changed.
You have to run it again. We need more spins. You have to run it again.
So Jensen Randall drops all the way to 6th spot from 2nd place. That is too bad for him.
Hey, that's what we said. That's what we said. It only takes one mistake. Even though we saw it was a big gap between P2, P3, and P4, that one spin can cost you everything what you've been working the whole race. So even Andreas' position is not certain because he can make the same mistake. Also, so that's the beauty of Singapore.
And that just goes to show how difficult this track really is. I mean, Jensen Randall, he's only been with us for a few races, but he's already got 3 podiums to his credit. He's only been here half the season. He's proven to be very quick, but a very rare mistake from Jensen. And that could be huge because he's not been able to close the gap back down to Sandro. And we know Sandro's been struggling with the setup on his car. He's already got time penalties galore. Jensen's still not able to close that 1-second gap.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah, it's 1.1 seconds. Maybe now it's the phase that hards are starting to be quicker than the mediums, and now overtaking with mediums is going to be very hard and to catch up very hard. So I think we're going to see first pit stops in the next 2 laps.
So unbelievable turn of events. Cameron Weston Edwards, I mean, running in 2nd now, 6.7 seconds back from Andrea. Andrea is still out in front. Has run mistake-free so far, but as we've seen with Jensen Randall, that can change relatively quickly. Jensen has now closed that gap down to Sandro Dulius for the 5th spot. So, but as you said, I meun, Sandro's on the hard tires, so they could be starting to come in here in the next couple of laps while the mediums fall off.
Yeah, and in undercut you can gain actually 2 seconds because there's no way you can overtake in a track. So you have to make your overtakes happen doing the undercuts.
And we just saw Ivan Brito pick up the 11th spot as he made the pass on Jurma Rusic heading into turn 1. So Ivan Brito up into 11th now.
Yeah.
And Dion Stahl picks up a 3-second time penalty. He is currently running in the 4th spot.
But I do remember in real life in Singapore that there was a big train behind Leclerc, and then Sebastian made an undercut on all of those 3 drivers. He got 2 laps to drive before anybody else did a pit stop, and he gained around 4 seconds in 2 laps. So it's amazing how much you can gain if you pit 2 laps earlier than your opponents. So in Singapore it's amazing actually. And those hearts can actually do 30 laps. Easy. They can do the whole race without pit stop. They are so hard.
So the pit window for the medium tires is going to open up around lap 14, and we see Jensen Randall struggling with the grip a little bit. Obviously from that spin, they've overheated those tires. If you were in Jensen's position, do you take the gamble and pit early? Just try to gain a couple of spots?
Yeah, definitely. I know the Hearts can do 20 laps easily, and Jensen would come in a free track of air if he pitted now, so definitely make that undercut. 20 laps, easy job with Hearts, and then just block everybody else doing the race.
And we're going to pick up Sam Brandt as he is called up to Robin Herterstegen for the 8th spot. So Sam Brandt, who didn't set a qualifying time, he started in the 15th position, has now worked his way up to 9th, looking to snatch away 8th spot. So good run for him so far today.
Yeah, very good.
In a race that has surprisingly not had a lot of incidents. I mean, we've had one DNF, which was Jan Holm, and we saw the incident with Jensen Randall a couple of laps ago. Other than that, fairly clean race here so far. I'm kind of surprised.
I thought we were going to see dead bodies in turn 1. But only so, you said, they're professionals, they're driven probably a million times this track, and I can imagine they've been practicing a lot towards this race. So only one DNF in the first 11 laps. I'm a little bit surprised about that. But only shows how professional these drivers really are and how well, everybody knows how to drive the cars because the new game is going to come out soon, so that's also affecting it, that they know how the car feels.
So it looks like Reese March might have had a little bit of an incident. He lost a couple of positions. Ivan Brito and Nick Van Gelder managed to get around him, so that puts Ivan Brito into the points. And this is Ivan Brito here running in 10th. Now he's got his teammate behind him, Yannick Verpayten, but Yannick is a lap down in the 15th position, so his race has not gone the way he's wanted it to, I'm sure. He's only been able to gain her one spot as he started 16th, and he only gained that spot because Jan Holm has crashed out. So rough day for Yannick, I'm sure.
Yeah. And
meanwhile, Jensen Randall is still trying to find a way around Sandro Dulius, and Sandro is actually starting to close the gap down to his teammate for the 4th spot. He's a couple seconds back. But Jensen Randall, he's been close enough in striking distance, but hasn't been able to make a move. And now we see Sam Brandt picks up a 3-second time penalty, running in the 9th spot.
Yeah, I think his tires overheated, his tires are gone, and he has to make that pit stop. I'm wondering a little bit why nobody's doing a pit stop with mediums. Like, okay, I understand if you're gonna come to traffic, but still, Jensen, he has nothing to lose anymore. He can pit, maybe try a battle for P3, and I really think he's gonna pit this lap.
And we've got Reese March diving into the pits. He's currently 12th. Obviously, we saw he had a little bit of an incident. And see if he looks like he's getting ready to come out of the pits now. So he's switched over to another set of medium tires, it looks like. Meanwhile, we're still watching Jensen Randall. We'll see if he dives into the pits. And it goes to show how demanding this track is. I mean, there's really just no spot to take a breather. I mean, even the straightaway is not straight. Randall has a big number. Oh, he's into the wall. Jensen Randall, how did you not DNF? Unbelievable hard hit by Jensen Randall. And he's going to dive into the pits now.
My God. Yeah,
oh my goodness, how did he?
I think his setup is too oversteering in that corner. He tries to do that corner flat out, but he has higher front wing than rear wing. And that can only explain that spin. It's oversteering setup. Basically wrong setup. Wrong setup, basically.
So, and Ivan Brito is going to get around Jensen Randall for the 8th spot. So Jensen's going to come out in the 9th position. It looks like he might come out in the 10th position, actually. So Nick Van Gelder going around him. Van Gelder working his way back into the points after his accident under the virtual safety car early on when Jan Holman crashed out. So, oh man, just it happens in an instant around here. It's unbelievable. And look at this. Now Jensen Randall, who was threatening Sandro Dulius, is now giving Dulius the reprieve, and Dulius is now able to concentrate on getting around his teammate Dion Stahl for the 4th position. Yeah.
Are we going to see team orders in a Ferrari team or not? That's the thing. The other one is in hards, the other one is in mediums, maybe. They're going to order. Okay, yeah, team orders, I think.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Dion Stahl and Sandro Dulius have the longest tenure in SRL. Oh no, and Brian Powers retired from the session.
Is that still being a safety car?
Oh, and he has gone off, and looks like he's off the racing line, so that's not going to be an issue. And Cameron Weston Edwards dives into the pit, so he hands over the 2nd spot to his teammate, Dennis Carenchis. And Sandro is going to move up into 3rd as Dion pits. And as I was saying, Dion and Sandro have the longest tenured teammates in SRL. They've been teammates since season 1. And there's always been a very clear A driver Sandro, B driver Dion, at least in Formula 1. When it comes to the sports cars, Dion's actually fairly quick in Project Cars 2 in the sports car series, so not as much team orders in there. But in Formula 1, it's always been Sandro's always been the A driver, and Dion always been B driver. So, and now we've got a little bit of drivers spread out once again, but we've got Nick Van Gelder closing in on Ivan Brito for the 8th spot.
Three-way fight for P8.
And actually, it's a 3-way fight because that's Jensen Randall. So, yeah, 3-car battle going on for the 8th position. And Ivan Brito is really going to be the victim in all this because he doesn't have that DRS. Oh, Oh, and Randall to the inside. A very ballsy and quick move. Van Gelder, I don't think expected that, but it looks like Jensen, he wasn't able to make it stick. And is that rain I see?
Yeah, I can see the small.
Is that rain I see?
Yes, it is. That's rain.
So the administrators were wrong and expected a dry race, and here comes the rain. So unbelievable. Things are getting shaken up once again.
Oh my god, so the drivers who pitted last lap, the McLarens, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, they're going to lose a lot of positions if these drivers are going to change to winners. So biggest winners are now the drivers who are not done pit stop.
Oh
like
my goodness.
Sandro Dulia, Slow, 678, Sadam and Andrea. Those are the winners at the moment.
This is unbelievable. This race has just gotten shaken up like a James Bond martini right here. This is...
shaken not stirred. Definitely.
This is, yeah, I mean, Jensen Randall, Sam Brandt, Cameron Weston Edwards, they all just pitted for hard tires. It's still very light. It might be a couple of laps before the rain really settles in, but so if you're in Andrea's position, you're now lap 14.
I drive until the tires explode. I drive until the tires explode, basically. I would not pit. I would not throw away an easy win. Then look at the track. They're going to switch to inners probably after this lap or next lap. Look how difficult it is to drive at the moment in the track of Singapore.
So we're going to hop on board with Jensen Randall just to try and get an idea how hard the rain's coming down on the onboard. And he's on the hard tires, a fresh set of hards. Oh my goodness, and Jensen goes very wide. We're going to pick up the racing point. That's Robin Herdestagen. It looks like he's going again. He's got end plate damage, but Jensen Randall blew the corner. The front end washed out in front of him. Yannick Verpayten, 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner.
Andres Spitting, he's going to take the inners. It's intermediate times. Yeah, DRS disabled.
DRS is disabled, so yeah, the rain is starting to come down relatively hard now. Andrea's going to pit.
So the first three drivers who did not pit gained massively. Gained so much massively. Sandro O'Donovan in P3 and the other McLaren in P2.
This is unbelievable. Cameron Weston Edwards is tiptoeing underneath the bridge right now. And you know he's got to be hot underneath that helmet. Just pitted a lap ago to switch over to the hard tires. The rain came quick and fast, and it has made the track real slick, real quick. And Cameron Weston Edwards is going to have to dive into the pits. Oh my goodness, he blows the corner trying to get into the pits. Manages to get in. Dion Stahl, another victim of pitting and the rain coming out. This has been quite a turn of events. So Andrea is back out on track on the intermediates. And Dennis Carinchis is in second. Sandro comes out third. Good on him. And those three guys are all going to be very well separated from each other. So those guys can run comfortably in those positions without any pressure from behind. It's going to be fourth on back where we might start seeing some things. Cameron Weston Edwards coming out of the pits. Dion Stahl coming out of the pits. Colin Higgins is behind him. And Nick Van Gelder is probably shaking his head going, what the hell do I got to do to try and gain some positions back after all this?
Yeah, but luckily he's in P7 position, but the first three positions are pretty much locked in. Basically first five positions, or first four positions, and yeah. So now it was going to be a dry race, but yeah, that's Singapore for you.
I'm going to go back and see, but I could have sworn, dry race expected from the SRL live chat. So speaking of wet weather, now that we've got ourselves a wet weather race, obviously Singapore, it could go away relatively quickly, but on the off chance that it continues to rain, I mean, how long will those intermediates last in these conditions? Are these guys going to be able to run them all the way to the end?
I think so. I think 14 laps is the maximum you can run with these tires, so I think everybody's going to try to one-stop it. Usually intermediates, they puncture at 85%. I've seen some people even taking inners to 90%, so I think these drivers can take it to the end. If it was lap 13 or lap 12, then I think one more pit stop, but now I think if it doesn't dry up, the rain doesn't get heavier, no stops anymore.
So let's run down the running order and recap everything that's going on a little bit. Andrea Alatrella started on pole, was taken over by Cameron Weston Edwards heading into turn 1, but managed to take that position back a couple of laps later. He is out in front to the tune of 18.7 seconds over Dennis Carenchis. Dennis has got a 14-second gap back to Sandro Dulius, who has managed to find his way into the 3rd spot, but he is still struggling with rear grip on that car. Very twitchy, and I'm wondering if the intermediates are going to have enough traction as we move forward. Cameron Weston Edwards running in the 4th spot. 7.5 seconds behind Sandro. Dion Stahl somehow managed to work his way into 5th after starting in the 11th position. Colin Higgins is running in the 6th spot. Good on him. Nick Van Gelder, who was running towards the front. He was running in 4th when he had a spin under the virtual safety car that was brought out because of Jan Holmes' incident. He's fallen back and driven back to 7th position. Robin Herderstagen up to 8th, but he has got Ivan Brito breathing down his neck for that position. It's the only battle on track right now is between those two drivers. Jetson Rounda, who can't seem to catch a break today, is running in the 10th spot. He's got a 23-second gap over Sam Brandt, who's running in 11th. Reese March is 38 seconds back from that. Jur Marusic running in 14th, and then Yannick Verpaten, who is a lap down, just kind of out there minding his own business at this point. So we're going to pick up that battle for the 8th spot between Ivan Brito and Robin Herderstagen. Ivan Brito in the Alfa Romeo, Herderstagen in the Racing Point, trying to hold him off. And even though the cars have been separated by a lot, the race has not been boring by any means. Nah,
there's been a lot of scripts. Like, most of the drivers making mistakes has made this race interesting, and these changing conditions. And actually, we have McLaren of Coldstone catching Sandro Dooley by 4 seconds each lap. So we might have a battle for P3 soon also.
Hey, we'll keep an eye on that timing and scoring, because it definitely looked like Sandro was struggling with the rear grip on that Ferrari a little bit. He is a wheel driver, and he did such a good job last year controlling the temperature in the rear tires when he walked away with the win here last year, but he's just must have missed the setup, or the handling characteristics are just not to his liking. Looks like he's struggling a little bit, and that time has already dropped in that sector by half a second.
Yeah, he's now losing about 2 seconds each lap, half second a sector, and in other news, Andrea is pulling away 3 seconds each lap from the McLaren in P2. So Andrea showing his weighing skills at the moment, but the battle for P3 is going to be interesting. How is Sandro going to be able to defend? That's the thing.
And we're going to ride along with Ivan Brito, see how hard the rain's coming down, and we just picked up a 3-second time penalty. You can see the front end is really starting to wash out on the front of these cars. Trying to get it to turn. Oh, and Brito has a moment there as he tries to put the power down. A little bit of snap oversteer. And Robin Herderstagen looks like he's having a little bit easier time with the car than Brito is. Brito might be trying to push it just a little bit to try and get that position.
Yeah. Showing his car a little bit. Showing he tried to dive bomb. He's so down. Still here. I'm still behind you. Battle for P8 is going to be interesting, but it's very difficult to overtake in dry, but when you add rain to it, it just brings to another level. And a dirty air behind a driver ahead, it's just a nightmare. I wouldn't want to be in these drivers' shoes.
Yeah, I mean, you've almost got, double the understeer, because you have to worry about the aero wash coming off of the car in front of you, and then you obviously have the understeer with the front end in the wet conditions. The car just doesn't want to turn in. And obviously the steering ratio on these cars and the steering rack is very limited. It's you don't get a lot of turn in to begin with under dry conditions. It's really all aero grip. So it's got to be really difficult in these conditions. And really, you see these guys tiptoeing around here. But Cameron Weston Edwards is just closed that gap down to 1.8 seconds. And he can see Sandro at this point.
Yeah, he's 3 seconds a lap quicker at the moment, and but it's other thing to catch up, but it's the other thing to overtake. Is he going to be able to overtake or not? That's the thing.
And it looks like Sandro is he's come up on the back of Jur Marusic, so Jur is going to get out of the way and let Sandro and Cameron go by. So good on Jur. But that, again, Cameron Weston Edwards picks up 0.3 of a second. Oh, but he just hit the wall coming out of there. I don't know if he did any wing damage. Yeah, he's got the end plate is going on that left front, so that might cost him. So the battle for third looks like that might dematerialize at this point. Down to 1.3. I mean, he's not letting it struggle him. And it looks like Ivan Brito and Robin Herderstegen now side by side. We'll jump back to that real quick. And Brito's able to get around Robin on the outside coming out of that corner. So Ivan Brito gets that 8th spot. See if he can pull that gap away from Robin Herderstegen and give himself a little bit of breathing room. Meanwhile, Edwards is really on the cusp of cracking into that 1 second range, but right now that's inconsequential because there is no DRS, but it looks like the rain might... It doesn't look like it's raining anymore, so we might have a changeover to dry tires again.
Yeah, we might see one more pit stop, and that's going to make it interesting. If the track is going to dry up in lap 29 or lap 30, are we going to have drivers who are going to stay out to the end, and are we going to have drivers who are going to pit and try to win positions by pitting?
Now this is getting really interesting, and Edwards now is within 0.6 of a second, and with the rain gone, it only should be another couple of laps before that DRS would be available.
Yeah, like I said,
this is turning into a very, very interesting race.
I'm a little bit surprised that the race is this interesting because you have always the changing conditions playing their parts, and this is just lovely race. I can't believe it. And
let's not forget, time penalties are still going to be a thing at the end of this race. So, I mean, these guys really need to go all out for everything that they can get. And we know Sandro's got 8 seconds worth of penalties, and I think Sandro might have some end plate damage on the right front of his wing. Yeah, the right front part of his wing. So these guys are both struggling with front end damage. Cameron, obviously, he's all over the back of him, so Cameron's able to handle his car a little bit better given the conditions.
But look how much quicker the McLaren driver is.
Oh, around goes one of the Alfa Romeos. Was that Ivan Brito?
Andrea's spinning.
Andrea's going to pit.
Well, 27-second lead.
I mean, he'll be able to pit and come back out still in first place. Oh, and Cameron's making the move. He's made the move around Sandro. Edwards is up into the 3rd spot.
Andrea is the only one who's pitted at the moment. The P2 driver is not pitting. So has Andrew made a brilliant masterpiece, or has he made a strategic mistake pitting too early for mediums, to slicks? There's an old saying in Formula 1, if you're the leader, you want everybody else to react, and then you pit last. If you have 27-second lead, don't make risks, because he's the only one who's pitted for slicks at the moment.
And you see now that he has come out and he's lost a big chunk of time, obviously, because of the pitting. And Cameron Weston Edwards is pitting as well. So he might not be the only one trying to make that switch. We'll see how long we'll see if the intermediates can keep up with Andrea. But Andrea, I mean, he's driven a masterclass race between qualifying and the race today.
Yeah, just brilliant. Maybe a new star of SRL for next season, definitely. The new champion. Well, we might be going a little bit too far away, but this race has just been unbelievable from this young guy.
Yeah, Tim Ventic has chimed in on the live chat a little while ago. He is watching the live stream, so Tim Ventic might have his work cut out for him if he wants to defend his championship next year if Andrea continues to race in this league.
Well, I might have a theory. Maybe Tim Ventic knew Andrea is faster than him in Singapore, and it was kind of like a psychological game that I don't want to lose my face to losing to this guy. And yeah, I can say afterwards, well, you only won because I'm not racing, so that's pretty normal, actually.
So a lot of guys have pitted now and switched over to the medium tires. Sandro and Dennis Carenchis are the only ones that are left on the intermediates, and I imagine that they would be coming in this lap.
Yeah, so yeah, brilliant. Okay, I have to say, even though Andrew pitted first, okay, he had 27-second lead, but there would have been a big risk if the track wouldn't have dried up, and he pitted first for slicks, but luckily it worked out for the Tomaso driver. But
so yeah. Nick Van Gelder just had a moment where he went off track again, and unless I missed something, Van Gelder has 5 laps on his medium tires. Did he put on a used set? Is that a thing you can do in this game? Or
yeah, how it can be used set if we did qualifying with the wets and inters. Maybe. Oh yeah, but he crashed in the first laps. So I think the pit crew put him the used set. Maybe he took to the weekend when there's a tire allocation. He took the softest set, which means you only have one medium set for the race. So he's using the medium set. They put it to him in the first stage of the race because he only had one medium set to begin with.
Yeah, because I don't think he's been on those tires 4 or 5 laps.
No. So this recently is from the lap 1 to lap 5. So these are the tires where he crashed out in lap 5. All tires. He doesn't have new ones.
Sandra has lost out on that third spot to Cameron Weston-Edwards through the pit sequence. Cameron Weston-Edwards able to take over that third spot as Sandra pitted to switch over to medium. So Sandra stayed out. Looks like maybe 1 lap too long.
31-second lead in 22 laps.
In varying conditions. Dry to wet to dry.
Still, that's in Formula 1, 31 seconds. It's same like in 100-meter dash, you win by 1 second or 2 seconds. Pretty much the same thing. Like we have one Usain Bolt, and then we have I don't know, 9 white guys running with Usain Bolt. That's the thing.
So Andrea Elatrella, the Italian. And here's insult to injury. He's actually coming up on Jensen Randall, who Jensen was one of the faster drivers at the beginning of this race. He just got lapped by Andrea, so Jensen is probably shaking his head going, where in the hell did this guy come from?
Wait, is he overtaking for the lead? No, you're being lapped. Okay. Well, yeah, but kudos. Big respect for Jensen for not retiring, because many drivers who are getting lapped, they would just retire.
Oh, and so there's a NASCAR bump and run. Nick Van Gelder into the back of Ivan Brito. I just picked that up as it happened, and I don't know if now Van Gelder usually doesn't do anything out of malice. So I'm gonna have to believe that was a mistake, but Van Gelder really knocked him into the next corner and didn't even bother slowing down to give the position back or anything. So
yeah, I think Nick Van Gelder has Murphy's Law in this race. Every action has a reaction, and he's been part of every single action here today. So it's just not his day in Singapore.
And now the cars are all spread out quite a bit now. Lap 23 of 31. Obviously, Andrea running just an unbelievable race all the way around. Dion Stahl picks up another 3-second time penalty. That's going to be the other factor towards the end of this race. I mean, we've talked about it a couple of times, but we're starting to see them time penalties now. We're starting to actually rack up for some of these drivers. We know Sandro has some. Dion Stahl, I think, has got 2 3-second time penalties. So it looks like is that Ivan Brito heading into the pits? Yes, it is. So not sure. Ivan maybe run into an issue before Van Gelder knocked him into next Tuesday or not.
Yeah. And other news, Andrew said the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 1:42.48. Just amazing. And Andrew can actually make one more pit stop, take the softs, and make another fastest lap of the race, and easily come back in P1.
Well, speaking of which, Ivan Brito has just come into the pits and switched over to soft tires. I mean, he's got nothing to lose, I guess, but it doesn't seem like he's got a whole lot to gain. Those soft tires are probably going to be gone by the end of this stint. And now we see Dennis Carinchis picks up a 3-second time penalty. But really, I mean, he's 16 seconds ahead of his teammates, so that's probably going to be inconsequential towards the end of this race. Sam Brandt, though, has caught Jensen Randall for the 9th spot.
Yeah.
And Jensen takes that corner a little bit wide. So Jensen, he's struggled today. He looked pretty promising towards the beginning of this race when he was closing in for the 2nd and 3rd spot, and he was a part of that battle up front. But once he had that spin, he's been off. And he had that hard hit into the wall. I'm surprised the car didn't DNF and break the suspension. He hit it so freaking hard, but
yeah. I think he's lost his self-confidence. He doesn't have his groove in this track. He don't take one mistake, then driver's confidence is going away. You start to be afraid of the track. You're showing the track way too much respect. You're not pushing like you used to. You're driving too safe, and then the mistakes are going to multiply. Because every lap you have to drive pedal to the metal. If mistakes come, they come. But you cannot show too much of a respect in street circuit.
And Andrea has just run another fastest lap. He's finally cracked into the 139s. And, you know, I got to be honest, the race that Andrea has run, fastest lap after fastest lap, a massive gap like this, I mean, I haven't seen something like this since the Schumacher era. I mean, just unbelievable pace, just flat out. Yeah. And now we see Dennis Carenci's 139.1. And Sam Brandt to the inside of Randall, a great move, and he's able to take the spot. Great pass by Sam Brandt to take over that 9th position, and Jovan Rusic has just crashed out of this race, unfortunately, and we've got ourselves a virtual safety car.
Damn it, why not a safety car? We have to be unbiased, but the safety car would have been a great ending to
a safety car would have definitely shaken things up. Now, the virtual safety car hasn't been without drama. Nick Van Gelder crashed under the virtual safety car the first time around. I'm going to pick him up running in the 8th spot because you never know if it'll happen again. And let's be honest, he did it when it was dry conditions. It wasn't like it was a virtual safety car in the wet. It happened under dry conditions. So Van Gelder, you know, he's been having issues since then. We'll see how long this virtual safety car lasts. Unfortunately, there isn't anybody that's really close together. Jensen Randall and Sam Brandt was the closest battle on track. And there has been some talk about the virtual safety car glitch that you have spoken of in the past, and that's being monitored now as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean...
it doesn't look like anybody took advantage of it, so...
Nah, yeah, maybe the league is putting so much pressure on the glitch that they're going to give very harsh penalties if you're going to try to exploit it.
And it looks like Jensen's going to dive into the pits. He'll probably switch over to soft tires, maybe try and capitalize on that, maybe snatch that last that bonus point for the fastest lap. He's also got wing damage, so he's going to swap out for a new wing.
Very big gaps, though, and
Nick Van Gelder looks like he's got the same idea. He's pitted in for a new set of softs as well, so... looks like some of these guys towards the back of the running order are going to try and get that bonus point for the fastest lap. And Ivan Brito just took over the 10th spot from Jensen Randall.
Yeah, but I still think Andrea is going to make one more pit stop, and he's going to take the fastest laps away.
Just add insult to injury.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to pit lap 30, and then he's going to take the last lap. Oh, and we have somebody retired in the middle of the track. That is GTS3.
That is Yannick Verpaten in the Alfa Romeo. We're watching his teammate, Ivan Brito, in middle of the track, but no yellow flag. I'm a little surprised.
Well, according to FIA, it's perfectly safe to retire in the middle of the track where cars come 300 kph an hour. So,
and we just saw them drive by. It looks like he smashed the right front and pancaked the right front suspension into the wall. So, but I guess Codemasters said we just had a virtual safety car, so we're not giving you another one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's Codemasters has a low budget on the safety cars in Singapore. And actually, this would be the first race that I've seen in Singapore where actual safety car is not gonna come in the race. Like, it's a little bit disappointing, but I guess it's good for Andrea because, let's be honest, Andrea has been dominating the whole race. He actually would deserve the win, and if safety car would take away his win, that would be kinda.
Do have a little bit of an interesting situation here because we've got Ivan Brito on soft tires. He's right behind Dennis Carenci's. Now, Carenci's is running in second spot, but Brito's the faster car right now. What's the protocol in something like that? Do you let the faster lapped car go by? Or do the blue flags wave for Ivan Brito? I mean, Brito's now gotten by Carenci's, but an odd situation to be put yourself in.
Well, if you're able to pull away massively from the car, I mean, if lapped car is able to pull away from a normal car, then he doesn't have to give the position back, but if he's going to slow down the McLaren, he has to give the position back, but Ivan Brito has to make over once again lead immediately. So you're allowed to unlap yourself if you are much faster than the car ahead.
Now, Ivan Brito hasn't pulled out to a massive gap, but it doesn't look like Owen Edwards picks up another 3-second time penalty, so...
Yeah.
Not sure how many... I think that might be 2 for him now, so he'd be... Well, and Sandro's got 8 seconds, so things are things might get shaken up. It's hard to say that the top 5 cars are all so separated far apart from each other. It might not make any difference. It's really 6th through 10th that would be a concern as far as the time penalties go as this race winds down.
Yeah, and yeah. But,
we picked up Nick Van Gelder, and Van Gelder just ran the fastest lap of this race, 1:37.933.
Not gonna be in the end. I was just saying. No, I was just saying. You don't like. You might take fastest laps. You might take your dessert, but then we have Andrea, who's gonna take steak with potatoes, with mashed potatoes, and he's just gonna say, bang, bang. 2 seconds quicker than everybody else. I take the fastest lap. I take the most laps led. I take the race win. I take the pole position. So basically a grand slam. You will see he will pit. 34 seconds he can pit.
He's obviously got the time on his side to, I mean, he can easily pit and come back out. Probably have 9 seconds to spare over Dennis Ferenczi's. So, but Andrea, now this is a very similar race to what Sandro Dulius did last year. Sandro ran a masterclass race. I mean, perfectly executed the pit strategy, perfectly executed the tire temperatures of the DRS and everything. It was way out in front, and I didn't think I would see it again this year since Tim Ventic and Luke Mathiasen were out of the race, but Andrea, he's really putting a staple in the race today. He's really making his mark in the league. He's saying, I'm here to compete. And I think really moving into next year, I really hope him and Tim and Luke continue to be with the league, because that could be a great championship battle moving forward. And we didn't have it this year. Unfortunately, Luke Mathiasen was a very quick driver, but missed a lot of races in the first part of the season. And Tim Ventic was just able to capitalize on that. And, you know, he won he pretty much closed the championship up back at Mexico at round 17. So. But Andrea really putting his staple and his mark on this league today. And Jensen Randall picks up a 3-second time penalty to add insult to injury to him. Oh, and he's going around on the front stretch. He's backed it into the wall. He's going to try and get going again. So I think Jensen's going to be happy when he finally sees the checkered flag for this race.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he's not retired from this session. So it's only big guts he has. He wants to end the season with an honor. He doesn't want to end it with retirement. So I love that. You don't give up. Even though the race is bad, only shows the strength of mentality that you drive to the end. Doesn't matter how badly you've been driven. That's admirable aspiration in a human being.
Yeah, it's. I always give mad props for drivers. Stick with it to the end. Don't rage quit. I mean, and the race has been very unpredictable. You've got 3 laps left. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we've seen, you know, aside from Jensen Randall having issues, I mean, we've seen Nick Van Gelder make mistakes this race. Ivan Brito's had a couple of on-off. Sandro Dulius has obviously been struggling, even though he's running in 4th. So, I mean, anything could still happen. But to your point, I'm a little surprised. I would have thought, like you said, I would have thought Andrea would have came in for a fresh set of softs and go for the fastest lap, but it doesn't look like he's going to do that.
Maybe he wants to win by big margin. Like, he wants to take a picture, so look guys, I won this race by 35-36 seconds. Easy job, look at the gap. And I don't blame him. Everybody wants to win by 35-36 seconds. This is the best race you can actually have as a driver. Nobody's challenging you from the behind. You're controlling the pace. You know you're the fastest driver. It's like you're not in this world anymore, if you understand what I mean. Like, you're in your own fairy tale world. You see corners, you push them as much as you can. It's just a lovely feeling.
And Andrea Elatrella has obviously just gone above and beyond today. He's just hit every mark. He hasn't made a mistake. As you said, he's going for the Grand Slam. He's not going to get that fastest lap. It looks like that's going to go to Van Gelder. Oh, and Jensen Randall does retire from the session.
In the pits. He only had 1 lap remaining.
Oh, Jensen, come on. You're better than that.
Why waste 1 hour of your time and then retire on the last lap? That's... no, well...
Yeah, he's really going to kick himself if something happens on this last lap.
Yeah, two or three retirements in the same corner, and that's like P8 and P7 gone to the toilet bin.
So,
But Andreas' drive, it's been like Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton drive, definitely. It's just something else. 34 seconds! 34 seconds! That's like 2 sector times basically in Singapore.
I mean, that's basically that's a second plus a lap faster. A lap. Yeah. I mean, you're 1.1 seconds faster a lap than everybody else.
I mean, but we saw this from qualifying. If you're 2.3 seconds faster in qualifying, you have to win at least by 20 seconds. I was afraid of this, because if you're 2.3 seconds faster than the rest of the field, that's another car class. Like everybody else is driving it Formula 2, so you're driving it Formula 1 car. Basically the same thing.
Yeah, that's it's very, as you said. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, Sebastian Vettel, in his prime, obviously at Red Bull.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see a lot of drives like this. At least I haven't seen a lot of drives like this in online racing. No. A lot of the leagues try very hard to keep it as competitive as possible, and SRL has been very good about that throughout the course of this year. I think this is just one of those days where Andrea has done everything right. I don't think we've seen anybody this year win a race by this much of a margin, and just unbelievable race all the way around. And despite the gaps you see in between the cars right now, I mean, it's been a very interesting race from dry to wet to dry. The mistakes that some of these drivers have made. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of top-class drivers, too. Jensen Randall, Nick Van Gelder, I mean, making some costly mistakes. But congratulations to Andrea Alatrella on his maiden SRL win. He picked up his maiden SRL podium last time out of Canada a couple of weeks ago. Now he backs it up with a win. Really put his staple on today's race. Sandro Dulius picks up another time penalty, so time penalties might be a factor towards the end of this race. We'll pick up Dennis Karenchis. Now, Dennis we haven't seen since Australia, which might have been the opening round of this season. I can't even remember when Australia was. A little bit of a moment there, but... So Australia, now Silverstone kicked it off. Australia was, which round was that? So that was round 10. So we haven't seen Dennis since round 10. He comes across the line in second spot. We'll pick up Cameron Weston-Edwards, his teammate. Edwards has been part-time driving this year as well. He's going to come across the line, pick up another podium position. So the few races that Cameron Edwards has been in, he's got a good podium ratio to races. Sandro Dulius comes across the line fourth. Colin Higgins running in the fifth spot. That's a great day for Colin Higgins. That's probably his best finish of the year at a very hard track in varying conditions, so good on him. Dion Stahl trying to close the gap down to him on this last lap. I don't think Dion's going to get there in time, though. Plus, I think he's got some time penalties as well.
And which is very amazing. Only top 6 of this race didn't get lapped, which is very scary, and the gap between P6 and P5 is over 1 minute 30.
So Colin Higgins comes across the line. Dion Stahl, Singapore. There's a part of me that says this is a very typical Singapore race. I mean, the cars were separated by, a lot of seconds. We had a couple of virtual safety cars. There was wet weather involved. The only thing we were missing was an actual safety car. But unbelievable race today for Andrea Alatrella, and mad props to the McLaren drivers, both of them part-timers coming in and taking the podiums today. So, despite what you might think, I think it was a good race all the way around. And really mad props to Andrea today, the Italian, really putting in a masterclass race. I can't say it enough. So
like I said, very interesting race though because of the changing conditions and the mistakes.
Unofficial results: Andrea Alatrella picking up his first win, followed by Dennis Karenchis in second, Cameron Weston-Edwards in third, Sandro Dulius was fourth, Colin Higgins was fifth, Dion Stahl was sixth, Robin Herderstag in seventh, Nick Van Gelder eighth, Sam Brandt was ninth, Ivan Brito was 10th, and Reese March was 11th. Those were your 11 cars running. Jensen Randall, Juma Rusic, Yannick Verpayten, Brian Power, and Jan Holm. All with DNFs, so unfortunate for him. So moving forward, next week you can catch the SRL race on Project Cars 2. Sandro Dulius will be commentating that. We're going to be doing the 1.2 hours of Indianapolis, where we're going to be running the GT3 cars for the Intercontinental GT3 Championship around the road course in Indianapolis. And then in 2 weeks' time, we're going to close out the F1 season at Suzuka. And obviously the championship's already been locked up, but a couple of points-paying positions still up for grabs, so check that out in 2 weeks' time. And then coming this summer, we're going to run the annual SRL Indy 500, and we're also going to do, for the first time, we're going to do LMP1 cars, 2.4 hours of Le Mans on Project Cars 2, so look forward to that as well. Erik, any final words on what has been a crazy race today?
Just unbelievable race. Congrats to Andrea, and like you said, it's been a hectic Grand Prix. Like, just unbelievable. Like, I'd say 10 out of 10. Nothing else. Just 10 out of 10.
And you don't often get a 10 out of 10 when you have cars that separated far apart at the end of the race. But really, I mean, it was a fairly wild race. If only all F1 races could be this entertaining. So.
Yeah, like I said, we have to introduce the hoses. That we start to hose up the track, we make the track wet on the other side, we leave it dry on the other side, then it's drivers' choice are they going to stick with inners or slicks. And then we see drivers doing 360 every corner. That would be, good idea actually.
So, unbelievable race. Guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Instagram. The link is in the description below. Be sure to check us out next week for Project Cars 2 for the Intercontinental GT3 Championship. And check us out again 2 weeks' time where we close out Season 5 of Formula 1 F1 2019 on the PS4 platform. I'm KAMIKAZE-FOX. This has been Erik Penninton. This has been SRL. We will see you guys at the next round.